Welcome back, everybody. And I'd now like to hand you over to Simrin Purhar from MediaValet. Thank you, Simrin.
Hi, everyone. Thank you, Jeanette, so much for the introduction. Hi, everyone. Hope you're having a great time at the conference. And thank you so much for joining today's TechLab session titled How to Increase ROI with a DAM Governance Plan. I know we all love the word ROI. At least I know in business school I was taught to love it. So I promise at the session, and you will be walking away with a better idea on how to increase everything from asset ROI to overall DAM ROI by either creating or improving your governance plan. My goal for you today is to leave with some tangible ways to make your current governance plan more robust and tailored to your organization. Or if you don't have an existing governance plan, get that started and get that built out. It's never too late to create or implement a plan, and with the number of benefits that come with having strong governance, the time building it and socializing it will be worth it in the long and short term. Before I actually get into my actual talk about governance, a quick introduction of myself. My name is Simrin Purhar, just like Jeanette said, and I do work in customer success and onboarding at MediaValet. I am based in beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia, where MediaValet is actually headquartered. I am working currently at home. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. So I do want to point out that if you have any questions about MediaValet, feel free to actually visit us at our virtual booth anytime during the conference. So starting off with our agenda for today, we'll start off by discussing why practice DAM governance. Then we'll get into our 4 pillars or areas of focus when it comes to DAM governance. Then we'll go into some important considerations to consider when building out your plan. And finally, finish up with some steps for a successful implementation. So why practice DAM governance? That is the $1 million question, I'm sure. So the objective of DAM governance is to align the DAM with your organizational and team goals to ensure the ongoing operational structure of the DAM is working consistently in a way that's making you and your users' lives easier. Consider it a blueprint for users on how to interact with the DAM and as a guide to stay organized. It's really set in place as a means of prevention, so we don't have to clean up a mess after it occurs. It's all about preventing the mess from occurring in the first place and mitigating any potential issues and disorganization from taking place. Governance, whether it be in the DAM or any other software, is proved to increase profits by increasing user efficiency and productivity. So this means users are spending less time figuring out how to use a software and more time focusing on their day-to-day functional tasks and operational tasks, whether that's creating assets, building marketing campaigns, or even out in the field taking photography. So more specifically in DAM, governance is proved to increase asset ROI and searchability, future-proof your DAM against mismanagement, and also enable consistency amongst the user experience. So the first 2 points here are consistency and searchability and discoverability, which really do go hand in hand. Building out an actual governance plan provides an innate sense of consistency within the DAM, which keeps the DAM itself organized, but also provides a guide for users on how to interact with it for the best results in the most efficient way. More consistency equals less confusion, and higher searchability means less time looking for files. All of this really just translates into greater asset ROI and efficient DAM use. This really does free up your users from spending time looking for files and more time again focusing on their day-to-day tasks and work. The last point here is future-proofing. Because DAM is becoming more and more popular as a part of organizations' tech stacks, we're seeing a trend where more and more teams and departments are adopting DAM even outside of marketing. So I'm talking operations, IT, HR, etc. With that being said, governance does come into play because these policies are the framework that keep your DAM organized throughout the years. And this does hold true as you scale your DAM to more users and expand to different user groups, whether those groups be internal to your organization or external as well. The most effective DAM governance policies and procedures collectively balance, reflect, and enable the needs and goals of all users and all stakeholders. With that being said, it is best practice, and we always encourage all of our clients to actually go ahead and involve some of the champions, power users, and other DAM administrators in building the governance plan out just to get some perspectives and feedback and review on the actual governance plan that's created. So we do have these 4 key pillars or areas to consider when building out your governance plan. Depending on your organization and use case, one or some of these pillars may have more relevance than others. With that being said, feel free to skip outlining the ones that don't seem relevant to you or your users and focus on the ones that do. So the 4 pillars, as you can see on the slide, are users and user groups, assets, metadata, and the upload workflow. So the first pillar here is users and user groups. When we're talking about user and group governance, we ask you to consider the user and group permission and access management. This is primarily for usage, user experience, and security purposes. Some of the topics to address when building out your governance plans and things you can actually include in your governance plan include: how do you determine the level of access and permissions a user requires? In some organizations I work with, I've seen the level of access coincide with their department or team. Other times in other organizations, I've seen differing levels of access within the same team. Outlining how permission levels are determined is great for your own sake as a DAM admin, but also so you have some documented bullet points to refer to and provide other individuals who are in charge of setting up user accounts. The next point here is who is responsible for creating, deleting, and suspending user accounts. In my experience, this sometimes lands on the DAM admin to handle, but can also be the responsibility of team leads or team champions. So best thing to do is actually outline whose responsibility everything is ahead of time, rather than having to worry about it in real time when the situation actually arises. So the next point here, the last point on the slide, is who is responsible for training new users. Again, very much similar to the last point, this is a responsibility that can belong to numerous different individuals, whether it be a team lead or the DAM admin, but again, best to assign this responsibility ahead of time, document it, and that way no worries happen when the situation actually arises. So some of the things that are not listed on the slide, but a couple of topics that I also encourage a lot of clients to include in their governance include: how many DAM admins will there be and who gets to be a DAM admin? Will users be managed through Active Directory or manual in-app accounts? And will third parties or external groups to your organization be given DAM access? And if yes, how will they be given that access? Awesome. So the next pillar here is assets. Having governance around your assets helps keep your DAM organized and helps users understand what the DAM contains. This can impact asset ROI and user efficiency in actually discovering your files. Some of the topics to address in your governance plan can be: what types of assets will the DAM contain? For example, will it be just images and video, just a different combination of files? And really, in my experience with organizations, I do see a lot of different combinations. So if you are going to be the organization who has a DAM that's used for only a certain type of file or a certain set of files, and you're still utilizing other systems, I would definitely recommend outlining in your governance plan which files will belong in the DAM. The next point here is: will the DAM be used for work in progress and final files, or just one or the other? Again, in my experience, I've seen clients use it for either or both. For the clarity of your users, the best thing to do is actually just to do a governance plan and have a point on there that really explains what the DAM is used for, whether it is final and work in progress or just final. The best thing here is also to reach out to your content creators and let them know, will they be uploading those files to the DAM if they are still work in progress, still being edited, or should they just be worried about uploading the final files only? The last point here is: will the DAM store all historic files or only files from a certain date onward? On occasion, I've definitely seen some clients migrate only files from a certain date onward, and if that's the case for you, best thing to do is let your users know, again, just so they have some clarity around the matter. And if they are looking for some very archived files, they know where to look and whether that's in the DAM or not. So our next pillar here is metadata. Metadata can enhance file searchability, minimize user uncertainty, and increase asset ROI. Because metadata heavily impacts asset discoverability, ensuring uploaders are tagging the most meaningful metadata is important, and also communicating to users what to search by to find the files they're looking for. Some of the different topics to address within your plan can include what types of values and information should be added to keywords, categories or folders, and attributes respectively. This I do feel is one of the most important things to have in your governance plan because it really does bring clarity to your users because they'll understand what to search by, and if they're the ones tagging the files, they know what to tag. This, of course, is good for you as a DAM admin if you do have this governance set in place, because you won't have to go through and re-tag files and really move information around if your users don't do it correctly in the first place. So the next point that we have here is who is permitted to add and edit tagged metadata. This really does tie into our earlier point of users and user groups and determining what groups get to take what action. The next point here is, do you have a file naming convention? And if you do, does that file naming convention have consistency among every single file type? Or is it going to be different file naming conventions between your photos, your images, your Illustrator files, and your videos? Awesome. So our next pillar here and our last pillar is your upload workflow. An upload workflow brings governance policies, within your governance policy, does bring clarity to your users, again, really on the process of uploading. This does help because it eliminates any confusion with the upload process, but also increases user efficiency. Some of the different questions or topics that you can address within your governance plan include, do assets need to go through an approval workflow? And if they do, does that approval workflow only pertain to certain user groups or all user groups? I've definitely seen a combination of approaches taken when it comes to really outlining whose assets get reviewed and what users' assets don't have to get reviewed. So again, if you do have a combination or even just using one or the other approach, best thing to do is communicate to your users so they understand what to expect. The last point on this slide is who is responsible for uploading assets and approving new asset uploads. In my experience, the responsibility for this sometimes falls on the DAM admin, again, sometimes falls on managers or team leads or champions. If it isn't the case in your organization where you do have multiple individuals handling this responsibility, it's great to document who's going to do what and let them know how to actually do the actual approval process if that's the case as well. All right, to wrap things up, the 4 pillars again to take into account are users and user groups, assets, metadata, and the upload workflow. Tying this all together, I do want to emphasize that putting in the work up front to outline policy and governance will benefit you and your users in the short and long term. This will help in areas such as enhanced organization, increased user adoption, minimized administrative maintenance, and of course, increased asset ROI and DAM ROI overall. Awesome. So taking a look now at some important considerations when building out your plan. The first consideration here is that governance is not a one-size-fits-all solution. And I wish the not was bolded there because it's very important in this point. So when we say it's not a one-size-fits-all solution, we mean governance plans differ between organizations depending on company size, the types of users, the organization's goals, and of course, the overall use case for the DAM itself. With this in mind, don't feel as though that you have to outline every single pillar I talked about or every single topic or question if it doesn't pertain to you and your organization. The best thing to do is understand your users, talk to them, understand the requirements and needs for the DAM, and then fit that governance plan to their needs. The next point here is benefits to your stakeholders. This especially comes into play when you're communicating the plans and policies and governance to them, because they're more likely to adopt it and follow it if they understand how it benefits them. Especially because new governance can sometimes mean change in process, the best way to counteract any aversion to change or hesitation is showing people and documenting to them how it helps and how it makes their lives better, more efficient, and makes their job a bit easier as well. The last point here is maximizing DAM ROI. The ROI benefits will potentially vary between user groups, some users seeing the ROI more so in asset discoverability and searchability, others more so in workflow efficiency, etc. So we've actually broken out ROI on the next slide a bit more because I do know it's everyone's favorite topic. So the first point on this slide about maximizing your ROI is improved asset discoverability and usage, which I know we've already gone over, but to reiterate super quickly, a governance plan is a blueprint for your users so they know exactly where to look and exactly how to search to find their files. The first benefit around this is that it does save them time. So again, they can spend more effort doing their day-to-day operational and functional tasks. The second benefit around this is that users understand how to find files. If they understand what to search by and what to type into their search bar, or how your category structure, folder structure is laid out, they'll be discovering files a lot more. Your files will be used a lot more, which increases asset ROI. The second point here is a reduction in admin maintenance, which I'm sure all you damn admins are, clapping about because this is your favorite part right here. What will save you time? So with a governance plan, of course, it does put in place these quote unquote rules around how the DAM should be organized and how users should interact with the DAM. With a governance plan, you do have this thing to pass over to users so they understand how to use the DAM. It shows them exactly how to name files, how to tag files, where to search for files, how to search for files, and really that does cut down on time for you. Retagging files is no longer a thing you're going to have to do, and no longer will you have to answer questions about the folder structure and whatnot as well. The last point here is increased adoption, and of course, generally people don't love change and ambiguity, so the governance plan does help eliminate any of that uncertainty, which is great. So of course, once you're done building your plan, you do need to socialize the plan and communicate it to your users as well. Communicating the plan is actually an extremely crucial part of optimizing your ROI, and it really does mean that your users need to understand why the plan exists, understand it exists in the first place, and then of course, understand how to use it. I've actually broken this up into 3 steps. So the first step here is documenting the plan and policies, which of course is just putting it down on some sort of paper, putting on a Word doc and whatnot, and then you have it there all documented out. The second step here is actually meeting with your users and communicating the plan to them as well. The last step here is revisiting the guidelines, and we typically recommend clients to revisit it once a year, sometimes every 6 months, making any updates to the actual plan if needed. Sometimes change around your actual guidelines will be triggered by the fact that you're adding additional teams to the DAM, you're changing the use case of the DAM and whatnot, but if change does arise and the guidelines need to be adjusted in some sort of way, I definitely recommend you do that as often as you need to. All right, well, that does conclude today's presentation. Thank you so much for listening to me chat about governance. I hope you are walking away with a couple of different, things to actually build into your governance plan, or at least some foundations to lay down if you are going to be building it for the first time. So as a special thanks for listening to today's presentation, I will be emailing everyone a brochure tomorrow on DAM governance that summarizes what I spoke about, as well as some additional information on the 4 pillars as well. So definitely keep an eye on your inbox tomorrow. So if you have any questions about the presentation or any questions about the recording, feel free to email me once I do email you tomorrow, and we will get back to you. Awesome. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Enjoy the rest of the conference, and thank you, Jeanette, as well.
Thank you very much.